stop chasing him. I know that sentence sounds simple, but if you really understand it, it can change the way you love, the way you communicate, and the way you see yourself. Because sometimes the reason a man is pulling away isn't because you aren't enough. It's because you keep trying to prove that you are. You keep texting. You keep checking your phone. You keep wondering why he hasn't replied. You keep rewriting your last message in your head. You tell yourself, maybe I should send one more text. Maybe he's busy. Maybe he didn't see it. Maybe he needs space. Maybe if I explain myself better, he'll understand. But let me tell you something. The woman who constantly tries to convince a man to choose her eventually forgets that she was supposed to choose herself first. And that is where everything changes. Because love should never require you to beg for basic attention. Love should never make you feel like you have to compete for a place in somebody's life. And love should never turn you into a detective studying timestamps, online statuses, emojis, and short replies just to figure out whether you still matter. You deserve clarity. You deserve consistency. You deserve effort. And most importantly, you deserve to remember who you are when somebody else stops giving you attention. Now listen carefully. If he has become distant, your first instinct might be to chase him. But your first instinct is not always your wisest instinct. Sometimes you have to resist the urge to reach for the person who is pulling away. Sometimes silence tells you more than another paragraph ever could. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can send him is not a long emotional message. It's 6 simple words. I'll let you come to me. 6 words. That's it. Not angry, not bitter, not desperate, not manipulative. Just calm. I'll let you come to me. Because those words communicate something that 100 desperate texts never could. They communicate self-respect. They communicate emotional control. They communicate, I care about you, but I'm not going to chase you. And there is a difference between loving somebody and losing yourself trying to keep them. You need to understand that difference. Because when you chase someone constantly, you are not just sending messages. You are sending a message about how you see your own value. Every time you send another text after being ignored, you may be telling yourself, I need his response to feel okay. Every time you double text because he hasn't answered, you may be telling yourself, his attention determines my peace. Every time you accept crumbs because you're afraid he'll leave, you may be telling yourself, something is better than nothing. But you were never created to live on crumbs. You were never meant to beg someone to notice your worth. And you certainly were never meant to spend your nights staring at a screen waiting for one person to validate your existence. There comes a moment when you have to stop asking, how do I make him chase me? And start asking, why am I chasing someone who already knows where I am? That question changes everything. Because if he knows you care, he knows how to reach you. If he has your number, he knows how to call. If he wants to see you, he knows how to make plans. If he wants to hear your voice, he knows exactly what to do. You don't have to keep reminding him that you exist. You don't have to keep auditioning for a role in his life. And you don't have to keep proving that you're loyal, loving, patient, understanding, beautiful, or worthy. The right man will not need a daily presentation explaining why he should value you. He will recognize your value through your presence. And when you stop chasing, something powerful happens. You get your attention back. Think about how much mental energy you spend on somebody when you are chasing them. You wake up thinking about him. You check your phone before you even get out of bed. You wonder whether he texted. You wonder why he didn't. You look at his social media. You notice when he's online. You wonder who he's talking to. You start imagining scenarios. You create conversations in your head. You become emotionally exhausted before your day has even started. And all because one person isn't giving you the consistency you deserve. That isn't love. That's emotional dependency. And you have to be brave enough to recognize it, because sometimes you don't miss the person. You miss the attention you were hoping they would give you. Sometimes you're not afraid of losing him. You're afraid of losing the possibility of what you imagine the relationship could become. And that's a very different thing. You may be holding on to a future that he never promised. You may be attached to potential instead of reality. You may be loving the version of him that exists in your imagination while ignoring the version of him standing right in front of you. And reality matters. Success matters. Consistency matters. Effort matters. Words are beautiful, but behavior tells the truth. A man can tell you he cares about you, but if he disappears for days without explanation, that's information. A man can tell you he misses you, but if he never makes an effort to see you, that's information. A man can tell you that you're special, but if he treats you like an option, that's information. Don't ignore information because you are attached to potential, and don't chase somebody into giving you what they should willingly give. That's why those 6 words are so powerful. I'll let you come to me. You're not saying, I don't care. You're saying, I care, but I also care about myself. You're not saying you can never contact me again. You're saying the next move doesn't have to come from me. You're not playing games. You're ending the game you've been playing with yourself. The game where you believe that if you just love harder, text sweeter, explain better, wait longer, forgive more, and give more, eventually someone will suddenly become the person you've been hoping they would be. Sometimes they won't. And accepting that isn't weakness. It's maturity. There is a certain kind of strength that appears when you stop forcing outcomes. You stop trying to control how someone feels. You stop trying to control whether they call. You stop trying to control whether they miss you. You stop trying to control whether they choose you. And you realize something powerful. You don't need to control somebody else's behavior. You only need to control your response. That's where your power lives. Not in whether he texts you, not in whether he likes your picture, not in whether he watches your story, not in whether he says good morning. Your power lives in the decision you make when he doesn't. That's the moment your self-respect becomes real. Anybody can feel confident when they're being loved properly. But can you remain confident when someone becomes distant? Can you remain grounded when the attention disappears? Can you still wake up knowing your worth when your phone is silent? That's the real test. Because if your confidence disappears every time somebody pulls away, then your confidence was never really yours. It was borrowed from their attention, and you have to take it back. You have to say, my value did not decrease because someone failed to recognize it. Read that again in your mind. Your value did not decrease because someone became distant. You are still the same woman. Your heart is still valuable. Your dreams are still valuable. Your time is still valuable. Your future is still valuable. Your beauty is still there. Your intelligence is still there. Your kindness is still there. Your strength is still there. The only thing that changed is that you stopped receiving attention from one person. Don't turn that into a crisis. Turn it into clarity. Maybe his distance is revealing something you were too emotionally attached to see. Maybe his silence is giving you information. Maybe his inconsistency is forcing you to ask questions you avoided when everything felt good. And maybe this moment isn't about getting him back. Maybe it's about getting yourself back. Because somewhere along the way, you may have stopped doing the things that made you happy. You stopped focusing on your goals. You stopped taking care of yourself. You stopped enjoying your own company. You started organizing your entire emotional world around one person, and now you need to rebuild. Not to make him jealous, not to make him regret leaving, not to make him chase. Do it because you deserve your own life back. Go back to your goals. Go back to your confidence. Go back to your friends. Go back to your hobbies. Go back to your peace. Go back to the woman you were before you started measuring your worth by somebody else's attention. And if he comes back, let him come back with effort. Let him come back with consistency. Let him come back with clarity. Let him come back with action, because you don't need another promise. You need evidence. You don't need another, I miss you. You need behavior that says, I don't want to lose you. And that's why you don't have to chase. You don't have to punish him. You don't have to manipulate him. You don't have to post pictures hoping he'll react. You don't have to disappear just to create anxiety. You simply have to stop doing all the work, because when you stop doing all the work, you finally get to see how much work he was willing to do. And that answer can be painful, but it's valuable, because truth may hurt for a moment. Confusion can hurt for months. Stop choosing confusion just because the truth scares you. You deserve to know where you stand. And sometimes the clearest answer comes when you stop asking the question. Stop texting, stop explaining, stop chasing. Stop trying to force a conversation. Take a breath. Put the phone down and remember those 6 words. I'll let you come to me. Then mean them. Because the power isn't in sending those words. The power is in living them. The power is in what you do afterward. The power is in not sending another message 10 minutes later. The power is in not checking whether he's online. The power is in not creating excuses for his silence. The power is in allowing his actions to speak. And when you do that, you don't lose power. You discover it. Because the woman who can walk away from uncertainty without begging for answers is a woman who has finally understood something many people spend years learning. Being chosen means nothing if you had to abandon yourself to be chosen. You should never have to disappear inside a relationship just to keep somebody else close. Love should add to your life. It shouldn't erase you from it. So if you've been chasing him, stop. Not because you hate him. Not because you want revenge. Not because you want to manipulate his emotions. Stop because you finally understand that your love has value. And valuable things are not handed out endlessly to people who refuse to appreciate them. You don't have to become cold. You just have to become selective. You don't have to stop loving. You have to stop overgiving. You don't have to stop caring. You have to stop abandoning yourself. And you don't have to stop believing in love. You just have to stop confusing chasing with loving. Because real love doesn't require one person to run while the other person stands still. Real love moves towards you too. And if he wants you, he knows where to find you. I'll let you come to me. 6 words. But behind those 6 words is a woman who has decided that her peace is no longer negotiable. And once you become that woman, everything begins to change. And once you become that woman, everything begins to change. Because now you're no longer reacting to his behavior. You're observing it, and there's a huge difference. When you're emotionally attached, every little thing feels like an emergency. He takes longer to respond, and suddenly you're wondering what went wrong. He doesn't call, and you're questioning whether he still cares. His messages become shorter, and you start searching for hidden meanings. He doesn't make plans, and you start making excuses for him. But when you reclaim your power, you stop trying to decode every move. You simply watch. You watch what he does. You watch what he doesn't do. You watch whether his words match his actions. And most importantly, you stop doing his part for him. Because that's what chasing often does. It fills in the gaps for someone who isn't showing up. He doesn't call, so you call. He doesn't make plans, so you make them. He doesn't communicate, so you explain. He becomes distant, so you move closer. He gives less, so you give more. And before you know it, you're carrying the entire relationship on your back. Then you wonder why you're exhausted. You're exhausted because you're trying to create a connection by yourself. And a relationship cannot be carried by one person forever. At some point, you have to put the weight down. Not dramatically, not angrily, just peacefully. You have to say to yourself, I'm not carrying this alone anymore. That is what I'll let you come to me really means. It means I've shown you that I'm interested. Now I need to see whether you're interested enough to show me too. That's not playing hard to get. That's having standards. And standards are not walls. Standards are doors with handles. They tell people how to enter your life. They tell people what behavior is acceptable. They tell people what kind of treatment you will and will not tolerate. And here's something you need to understand. A man doesn't always respect the woman who gives him everything. Sometimes he simply gets comfort for receiving everything without having to give anything back. That's why you need boundaries. Because when there are no boundaries, your generosity can become expected. Your availability can become assumed. Your attention can become taken for granted. Your forgiveness can become unlimited. And eventually, the very qualities that made you beautiful become the qualities somebody exploits. You can be loving without being endlessly available. You can be kind without being easy to disrespect. You can be understanding without accepting inconsistency. You can be patient without waiting forever. You can love someone deeply and still say, this isn't enough for me. That's maturity. That's emotional strength. And that's the energy you need to carry, because the moment you stop chasing, you stop negotiating against yourself. You stop saying, maybe if I do this, he'll stay. You stop saying, maybe if I become less demanding, he'll love me. You stop saying, maybe I shouldn't ask for so much. You stop shrinking your needs just to fit inside somebody else's limitations. Listen to me. Wanting communication isn't asking for too much. Wanting effort isn't asking for too much. Wanting respect isn't asking for too much. Wanting consistency isn't asking for too much. You're only asking for too much when you're asking the wrong person to provide it. And that distinction can save you years. Sometimes the problem isn't that your expectations are too high. The problem is that you're expecting the wrong person to meet them. You cannot squeeze commitment out of somebody who wants convenience. You cannot force consistency out of somebody who enjoys inconsistency. You cannot love someone into emotional maturity. You cannot convince someone to value what they keep taking for granted, and you cannot chase somebody into becoming ready. They have to decide that for themselves. That's why your job isn't to convince him. Your job is to observe. Let him reveal himself. Let him show you who he is. Let him show you how much effort he's willing to make when you stop making it easy for him. And this is where many women get scared. They think, what if I stop texting and he never comes back? Then listen carefully. If you stop chasing and he never comes back, you didn't lose a relationship. You discovered the reality of the relationship. That is painful, but it is powerful. Because if your connection only survives when you constantly push it forward, then you weren't building something together. You were pulling something behind you, and eventually your arms were always going to get tired. Let the truth reveal itself. If he wants to talk, he can talk. If he wants to see you, he can make a plan. If he wants to know how you're doing, he can ask. If he wants to be part of your life, he can make room for himself in it. You don't need to hold the door open forever. And here's where the 6 words become even more powerful. I'll let you come to me. Not, I'll wait forever. Not, I'll sit here hoping. Not, I'll refuse to move on. You're not putting your life on pause. You're simply refusing to chase. There's a difference. You continue living. You continue growing. You continue becoming stronger. You continue laughing. You continue building. You continue dreaming. You continue becoming the woman you were meant to become. And if he wants to join that life, he has to walk toward you. He doesn't get to expect you to stop your entire life and run after him. You have places to go, dreams to accomplish, people to love, goals to achieve, a future to build. Your life is bigger than one man's attention. Never forget that. Because sometimes heartbreak becomes so consuming that you start believing the person who hurt you is the only person who can heal you. That's one of the biggest traps. You think, if he just comes back, I'll feel better. But what if the healing you're waiting for doesn't come from him? What if it comes from you? What if peace begins when you stop needing his apology? What if confidence begins when you stop needing his validations, Bization? What if closure begins when you stop asking him to explain why he couldn't give you what you needed? Sometimes closure isn't a conversation. Sometimes closure is acceptance. Acceptance that he wasn't ready. Acceptance that he wasn't consistent. Acceptance that he couldn't give you what you needed. Acceptance that you deserve something different. And acceptance doesn't mean you stop caring overnight. It means you stop allowing your feelings to control your decisions. You can miss him and still not text him. You can love him and still walk away. You can think about him and still choose yourself. You can hope he comes back and still refuse to chase him. Those things can exist at the same time. That's emotional maturity. Because maturity isn't having no emotions. Maturity is refusing to let every emotion dictate your behavior. You can feel the urge to text him and choose not to. You can feel lonely and still not settle. You can feel rejected and still remember your worth. You can feel afraid and still move forward. That's strength. And every time you resist the urge to chase, you become stronger. Not because you're manipulating him, because you're training yourself. You're teaching yourself that discomfort doesn't have to control you. You're teaching yourself that silence won't destroy you. You're teaching yourself that uncertainty won't make you abandon your standards. You're teaching yourself that you can survive without constant reassurance. And eventually something incredible happens. You stop needing the response, you send a message, or you don't send it. You put the phone down and you go live your life. That's freedom. Because the moment you stop needing somebody to respond in order to feel okay, they lose the ability to control your emotional state. And that doesn't make you cold. It makes you grounded. Now, let's talk about something else. Sometimes a man pulls away because he genuinely needs space. Sometimes he's dealing with pressure. Sometimes he's confused. Sometimes he's overwhelmed. Sometimes he doesn't know what he wants. Sometimes he is afraid of vulnerability. And sometimes, yes, he may simply be losing interest. You don't need to decide which one it is immediately. You don't have to chase him for an explanation. Give space. Let time and behavior provide information. Because when you constantly interrupt someone's distance with messages, you never get to see what happens naturally. You keep creating movement. You keep forcing communication. You keep preventing the truth from becoming obvious. But when you step back, you allow reality to breathe. If he genuinely cares, space can give him room to recognize your absence. If he needs time, you give him time. If he's overwhelmed, you stop adding pressure. If he's uncertain, he has room to decide. And if he simply doesn't want the relationship, you finally get the answer you needed. None of those outcomes require you to chase. And that's why stepping back is not weakness. It's information. It's clarity. It's self-respect. And sometimes the strongest message you can send is the message you don't send. Because silence isn't always empty. Sometimes silence says, I've already explained myself. I've already shown you I care. I don't need to convince you. I won't fight for basic effort. I won't compete for attention. I won't beg you to choose me. I know what I bring. I know what I deserve. And when you genuinely believe those things, your behavior changes naturally. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to act mysterious. You don't have to calculate how many hours to wait before replying. You don't need dating tricks. You don't need psychological games. You simply become a woman who has a life. And a woman with a life does not panic when someone temporarily steps away. She keeps moving. She keeps growing. She keeps smiling. She keeps building because she understands that love is supposed to be a part of her life, not the entire definition of it. And this is where your mindset has to change. Stop asking, how can I make him miss me? Ask, how can I stop missing myself? Stop asking, how can I make him chase me? Ask, why am I running after someone who isn't walking toward me? Stop asking, what should I text him? Ask, what am I trying to get from this text? Are you trying to communicate? Or are you trying to get reassurance? Are you trying to share something? Or are you trying to make him respond? Are you reaching out because you genuinely want to, or because you're afraid of what his silence means? Those questions matter, because sometimes the message isn't the problem. The intention behind the message is. If you send a text because you want to communicate something meaningful, that's normal. But if you send 5 messages because you're terrified he might be losing interest, that's anxiety making the decision. And anxiety should never be your relationship strategist. Let your values make your decisions. Let your self-respect make your decisions. Let reality make your decisions, not fear, because fear will tell you to chase. Fear will tell you to over-explain. Fear will tell you to accept less. Fear will tell you that if you don't do something immediately, you'll lose him forever. But love doesn't require panic. Healthy connection doesn't require constant emergency management. And the person meant to build with you will not require you to live in fear of losing them every single day. You need peace. You need stability. You need someone whose presence doesn't make you question your worth. And until that person arrives, don't betray yourself just because you're lonely. Loneliness is temporary, but the consequences of abandoning yourself can last much longer. So if you are sitting there right now staring at his name on your phone, wondering whether you should text him again, take a breath. Put the phone down. Don't send the paragraph. Don't send the are you okay? Don't send it. Did I do something? Don't send the I miss you. Don't send the message you know you're only sending because you want reassurance. Instead, remember, I'll let you come to me. Then go do something that reminds you who you are. Go outside. Work on your goals. Call someone who loves you. Exercise. Ride. Dream. Build. Live. Because the goal isn't to sit around waiting for him. The goal is to stop waiting for someone else to give you permission to enjoy your life. Your life is happening right now. And you don't get those hours back. You don't get those mornings back. You don't get those nights back. Don't waste them refreshing a screen. Don't waste them wondering why somebody hasn't chosen you. Choose yourself. And if he notices your absence, good. If he reaches out, good. If he doesn't, you'll still be okay. Because your peace cannot depend on his decision. Your future cannot depend on his mood. Your confidence cannot depend on his attention. And your worth cannot depend on whether he stays. You are allowed to love somebody without chasing them. You are allowed to care without overextending yourself. You are allowed to step back without becoming cruel. You are allowed to say, I want you, but I don't need to lose myself to have you. That is the kind of confidence that changes everything. And once you truly understand it, you'll stop trying to make someone choose you. You'll simply watch whether they do. And once you truly understand it, you'll stop trying to make someone choose you. You'll simply watch whether they do. Because there is a point in every woman's life when she has to stop auditioning for love and start evaluating it. You have to stop asking, what can I do to make him stay? And start asking, is the way he loves me worthy of the woman I am? That's a completely different question. One question puts him in control. The other puts you back in control of your own life. And this is where the real transformation begins. Because when you stop chasing him, you begin noticing things you couldn't see while you were busy trying to keep his attention. You notice how often he initiates. You notice whether he follows through. You notice whether he remembers what matters to you. You notice whether he makes time. You notice whether he communicates when things get difficult. You notice whether he is present when you need him. You notice whether his actions match his words. And suddenly, you're no longer trying to convince yourself that he's interested. You're simply watching. That is power. Because when you're chasing someone, you become their advocate. You explain their behavior. You defend their silence. You excuse their inconsistency. You create reasons for why they're not showing up. But when you stop chasing, you become an observer. And observers see things clearly. You might realize that he wasn't confused. He was comfortable. He knew you'd always reach out. He knew you'd always forgive. He knew you'd always be there. He knew that no matter how little effort he gave, you'd fill in the missing pieces. And when someone becomes accustomed to receiving without giving, your withdrawal of effort can reveal the truth. Not because you're punishing them, because you're no longer hiding the imbalance. That's important. Don't use silence as a weapon. Use silence as space. There's a difference. A weapon is designed to hurt somebody. Space is designed to protect your peace. Don't disappear because you want him to panic. Don't stop texting because you want to manipulate him. Don't post pictures just to make him jealous. Don't pretend you're happy while secretly hoping he'll notice. That's still chasing. It's just chasing in disguise. Real detachment is different. Real detachment says, whatever happens, I will be okay. That's the goal, not getting a reaction. Getting your peace back. Because if your entire strategy is designed around making him react, then he's still controlling you. You haven't detached. You've simply changed tactics. You need to reach a place where whether he texts tomorrow or never texts again, you still know exactly who you are. That's freedom, and freedom changes the way you communicate. Instead of sending emotional paragraphs, you become clear. Instead of demanding attention, you allow people to show their intentions. Instead of constantly explaining yourself, you let your actions speak. Instead of asking, do you still want me? You observe whether his behavior answers the question. Because sometimes you're asking for clarity from someone who is already giving you clarity through their behavior. You just don't like the answer. And that's okay. Nobody likes rejection. Nobody likes realizing that someone they care about isn't able or willing to give them what they need. But pain is not a reason to reject reality. You cannot heal from something you refuse to acknowledge. If he isn't showing up, if he's inconsistent, acknowledge it. If you're always the one initiating, acknowledge it. If you're always waiting, acknowledge it. If you're constantly confused, acknowledge it. Confusion itself can be information. The right connection may not always be perfect, but it shouldn't require you to constantly wonder where you stand. You deserve a relationship where communication doesn't feel like a negotiation, where affection doesn't feel like a reward, where attention doesn't disappear whenever things become difficult, where you don't have to compete against his phone, his friends, his schedule, or his uncertainty. You deserve someone who understands that your heart isn't a waiting room. And this is why you have to stop chasing. Because every time you chase someone who is uncertain about you, you teach yourself to tolerate uncertainty. And what you repeatedly tolerate becomes your standard. Be careful. You can become so used to inconsistent love that healthy love starts feeling boring. You can become so accustomed to emotional chaos that peace feels unfamiliar. You can become so used to proving your worth that someone simply valuing you feels suspicious. That's why healing is so important. You have to retrain your mind. You have to understand that love isn't supposed to feel like a constant examination. You shouldn't have to pass a test every day to keep somebody interested. You shouldn't have to become smaller to make somebody comfortable. You shouldn't have to hide your needs to avoid being called difficult. And you shouldn't have to chase someone into giving you the bare minimum. The bare minimum is not a prize. Consistency is not a luxury. Respect is not a favor. Communication is not an unreasonable demand. They're foundations. And if someone cannot provide the foundation, stop trying to decorate the house. You can make the relationship look beautiful from the outside. You can send sweet messages. You can plan romantic dates. You can forgive everything. You can be endlessly patient. But if there is no foundation, eventually the whole thing collapses. So stop focusing on how to keep him. Start focusing on whether he is capable of keeping you. That's the question. Is he capable of valuing you? Is he capable of communicating? Is he capable of being consistent? Is he capable of taking responsibility? Is he capable of making an effort without being reminded? Is he capable of meeting you halfway? Because you don't need someone who simply wants you when it's convenient. You need someone who can participate in the relationship. And here's something powerful. You don't have to tell him all of this. Your behavior can communicate it. You don't have to send a 10-paragraph speech explaining your boundaries. You can simply change your behavior. You stop over-texting. You stop over-explaining. You stop initiating every conversation. You stop accepting last-minute plans when they don't work for you. You stop rearranging your entire schedule for someone who won't make time for you. You stop giving girlfriend-level energy to someone who only offers casual attention. You don't announce these changes. You simply live them. That's maturity. And if he asks what's changed, you don't need to become defensive. You can calmly say, nothing is wrong. I'm just giving the same energy I'm receiving. That's powerful because it's honest. You're not punishing him. You're not demanding. You're simply refusing to carry more than your share. And sometimes that is exactly what makes a man realize that your presence was never guaranteed. Because when someone always has access to you, they may forget that access is a privilege. Your time is a privilege. Your attention is a privilege. Your emotional energy is a privilege. Your love is a privilege. Not because you're better than anyone, because your life belongs to you, and you decide who gets access to it. That's why I'll let you come to me. Isn't about becoming unavailable. It's about becoming intentional. If he reaches out with genuine effort, you can respond. If he communicates clearly, you can communicate clearly. If he makes plans, you can decide whether those plans align with what you want. But you're no longer running towards someone who is standing still. You meet effort with effort. You meet consistency with consistency. You meet respect with respect. You don't reward confusion with unlimited access. You don't reward disrespect with more affection. And you don't reward silence by working harder. Because when you chase, you remove the opportunity for him to demonstrate his desire. Think about that. If you're always initiating, how do you know whether he would have initiated? If you're always calling, how do you know whether he would have called? If you're always planning, how do you know whether he would have made a plan? If you're always repairing the relationship, how do you know whether he values the relationship enough to repair it? You don't, because you've been doing his part. Step back, not to manipulate, to observe. An observation will tell you more than another conversation ever could. Maybe he'll step forward. Maybe he'll realize he misses your presence. Maybe he'll recognize that he took you for granted. Maybe he'll start making an effort. And if he does, don't immediately fall back into the old pattern. Don't become so relieved that he returned that you forget why you stepped back. Look for consistency. Anyone can send one emotional message. Anyone can say, I miss you. Anyone can call at midnight. Anyone can promise to change. The question is, what happens after the emotion fades? Does the effort continue? Does the communication improve? Does the behavior change? Does he make you feel secure? Does he respect your boundaries? That's what matters. Don't judge a relationship by its strongest moments. Judge it by its patterns. Past reveal character. One beautiful weekend doesn't erase months of inconsistency. One romantic message doesn't erase repeated neglect. One apology doesn't erase a cycle that keeps repeating. You don't need perfection. Nobody is perfect. You need accountability. You need someone who can say, I messed up and I'm going to do better, and then actually do better. That's the difference between words and transformation. And you should expect that, not because you're demanding, because you're protecting your future. The person you choose doesn't just affect your present. They affect your emotional environment. They affect your peace. They affect your confidence. They affect your time. They affect the way you see yourself. That's why choosing a partner is serious. And that's why chasing someone into a relationship can be dangerous. Because you might successfully get the person you wanted while losing the peace you needed. You might finally get him to commit, but spend every day wondering whether he's going to leave. You might get his attention, but never get his consistency. You might get the relationship, but not the security. And what is the point of winning somebody if the relationship feels like losing yourself? That's not the victory you think it is. The real victory is choosing someone who chooses you back. Someone who doesn't make you beg for communication. Someone who doesn't disappear whenever things get serious. Someone who doesn't need to lose you before realizing your value. Someone who isn't only interested when you're walking away, because you don't want to become the woman a man appreciates only after losing her. You want to be the woman he appreciates while he has her. That's the difference. You don't want regret. You want recognition. You don't want him to miss you because you're gone. You want him to value you while you're present. And that requires standards. So raise the standard of what you accept. Not the standard of perfection, the standard of effort, the standard of respect, the standard of communication, the standard of honesty, the standard of consistency. And then live by those standards yourself, because boundaries without action are just wishes. If you say you won't tolerate disrespect, then don't stay every time you're disrespected. If you say you need consistency, don't keep accepting inconsistency. If you say you want communication, don't keep making excuses for someone who refuses to communicate. Your behavior teaches people how seriously to take your words. And when you begin taking yourself seriously, other people notice. But even if they don't notice, you still win. That's the part you need to understand. Self-respect isn't valuable because it makes him chase you. Self-respect is valuable because it makes you stop chasing people who don't deserve access to you. That's the real transformation. You're not becoming powerful because he finally wants you. You're becoming powerful because you no longer need him to want you in order to know your worth. And that is when love becomes healthier. You can love without fear. You can communicate without anxiety. You can give without overgiving. You can receive without suspicion. You can walk away without revenge. You can stay without losing yourself because your identity no longer depends on the relationship. You are whole before him. You are whole with him. And you will remain whole if he leaves. That is the mindset. That's what those 6 words are really about. I'll let you come to me. It's not a trick. It's a decision. A decision to stop forcing, to stop begging, a decision to stop overthinking, a decision to stop abandoning yourself for somebody else's attention. And once you make that decision, you may feel uncomfortable at first. You may want to reach for your phone. You may want to send one more message. You may want to check whether he's online. You may want to ask a friend what they think. But pause. Sit with the discomfort. Let the feeling pass. Because every time you survive the urge without acting on it, you prove something to yourself. You prove that you can control your impulses. You prove that silence won't break you. You prove that you can tolerate uncertainty. You prove that you don't need immediate reassurance. And slowly, The obsession begins to lose its grip. The phone becomes just a phone again. His name becomes just a name. His silence becomes information, not a personal attack. And your life starts becoming yours again. That's when you become dangerous in the best possible way. Not dangerous because you're trying to hurt anyone. Dangerous because you're no longer easily controlled by attention. You can't be manipulated by breadcrumbs when you no longer hunger for them. You can't be controlled by silence when you no longer fear it. You can't be controlled by withdrawal when you know how to walk away. And you can't be controlled by rejection when your self-worth doesn't depend on acceptance. That's freedom, and freedom is attractive. But more importantly, freedom is peaceful, so don't chase him. Don't chase the reply. Don't chase the explanation. Don't chase the relationship. Don't chase the version of him you wish he would become. Let reality show you who he is. Let his effort speak. Let his consistency speak. Let his choices speak. And if he chooses you, let him show it. If he reaches for you, let him reach. If he wants to rebuild, let him participate. If he wants your heart, let him demonstrate that he knows how to hold it. Because your heart isn't something you throw at someone and hope they catch. Your heart is something you protect. And protecting your heart doesn't mean becoming cold. It means becoming wise. There is a difference between having a soft heart and having no boundaries. Keep your softness. Keep your kindness. Keep your ability to love deeply. But stop giving unlimited access to people who give limited effort. You don't need to become harder. You need to become clearer. And clarity sounds like this. I care about you, but I won't chase you. I want connection, but I won't beg for it. I would love to hear from you, but I won't force communication. I want you in my life, but I won't lose myself trying to keep you. And when you can honestly say those things, you've reached a level of emotional strength that no text message can create. Because the text is only 6 words. The mindset behind those 6 words is everything. I'll let you come to me. Say it once if you need to, then live it. And watch what happens when you stop running towards someone and start standing firmly in your own life. Sometimes they come back. Sometimes they don't. But either way, you come back to yourself. And that may be the most important person you've been trying to find all along. And that may be the most important person you've been trying to find all along yourself. Because maybe this entire situation was never really about getting him to chase you. Maybe it was about learning how to stop abandoning yourself whenever somebody pulls away. Maybe the lesson was never, how do I make him miss me? Maybe the lesson was, how do I stop making somebody else's attention the measure of my worth? That's a much deeper lesson. And once you learn it, you don't just change one relationship. You change the way you approach every relationship that comes after it. You stop falling in love with potential. You start paying attention to patterns. You stop accepting words without actions. You stop confusing chemistry with compatibility. You stop confusing attention with intention. And you stop confusing being wanted with being valued. Because anybody can want access to you. The real question is whether they know how to value that access. Anybody can tell you that you're beautiful. The real question is whether they treat your heart carefully. Anybody can say they miss you. The real question is whether they make an effort to keep you in their life. Anybody can promise change. The real question is whether their behavior changes when nobody is watching. That's what you need to look for, not promises, pause, not words, not temporary attention, consistent effort. And if you have to chase somebody to get those things, stop. Take your hands off the wheel. Let them drive their own side of the relationship. You cannot keep steering for 2 people. At some point, the other person has to decide where they're going. And if they don't know where they're going, you don't have to follow them into confusion. You can love someone and still choose peace. You can remember someone and still move forward. You can wish them well and still close the door. You can hope they change and still stop waiting for it. You can care deeply and still say, this isn't enough for me. That's not cruelty. That's courage. And sometimes courage looks incredibly quiet. It looks like not sending the message. It looks like putting the phone down. It looks like sleeping peacefully without knowing whether he'll text tomorrow. It looks like waking up and deciding that today will not be another day spent analyzing somebody else's behavior. It looks like getting dressed for yourself, working for yourself, smiling for yourself, building for yourself, living for yourself, and eventually something beautiful happens. You stop waking up hoping he contacted you. You start waking up excited about your own life. You stop checking his social media. You start checking your own progress. You stop wondering who he's talking to. You start thinking about what you're becoming. You stop asking whether he misses you. You start asking whether you're proud of yourself. That's growth. And growth changes your energy. People can feel when you're no longer desperate for their attention. They can feel when your happiness doesn't depend on their presence. They can feel when you're no longer waiting by the phone. But remember this. Don't transform yourself just to make him notice. Transform yourself because you finally noticed yourself. That's the difference. If he notices, fine. If he comes back, fine. If he doesn't, you keep moving. Because the ultimate goal was never to make him chase you. The ultimate goal was to become a woman who doesn't chase what isn't chasing her. A woman who knows that mutual effort is not too much to ask. A woman who knows that communication should go both ways. A woman who knows that love should feel safe, not constantly uncertain. A woman who knows that attention without commitment isn't enough. A woman who knows that chemistry without consistency isn't enough. A woman who knows that words without action aren't enough. And a woman who knows that she doesn't need to convince anyone of her value. That's the woman you are becoming. And becoming her may require you to disappoint people who benefited from the old version of you. Some people liked you when you had no boundaries. Some people loved your availability. Some people enjoyed knowing that no matter what they did, you would still be there when you change. They may call you distant. They may say you've changed. They may say you're acting differently. And you know what? Maybe you have changed. Maybe you finally learned. Maybe you finally understood. Maybe you're no longer willing to accept what you once tolerated. And that's okay. You don't owe anyone the old version of yourself. You are allowed to grow. You are allowed to change your standards. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to step back. You are allowed to protect your peace. And you are allowed to stop chasing. So if he reaches out after you've stepped back, don't let excitement erase your wisdom. Don't immediately give him everything he asked for, simply because you were waiting to hear from him. Listen to what he says, watch what he does. Ask yourself whether the connection is actually different. Because sometimes people return because they miss your attention, not because they're ready for a relationship. Sometimes they miss the comfort you provided. Sometimes they miss having someone available. Sometimes they miss knowing that you cared. That doesn't automatically mean they've changed. That's why you need discernment. Don't confuse someone's return with someone's transformation. Returning is easy. Changing is hard. A message is easy. Consistency is hard. An apology is easy. Accountability is hard. Saying I want you is easy. Showing you that they can build with you is hard. So don't be impressed by the first step. Watch the entire journey. And if the pattern returns, believe the pattern. You don't have to keep giving someone unlimited opportunities to hurt you just because you have feelings for them. Love doesn't require endless chances. Sometimes love requires a boundary. Sometimes love means saying, I care about you, but I cannot continue like this. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is walk away from something that keeps teaching you to question your worth, because your heart deserves somewhere safe to land, not somewhere it has to fight for permission to exist. And here's the truth you need to carry with you. You cannot make the wrong person become the right person by loving them harder. You cannot make an emotionally unavailable person available by being more patient. You cannot make an inconsistent person consistent by accepting inconsistency. You cannot make someone ready by waiting longer. And you cannot make someone value you by giving them more of yourself. At some point, they have to choose, and so do you. Choose yourself. Choose your peace. Choose your dignity. Choose the life that exists beyond your phone. Choose the future that doesn't depend on somebody else's decision. Choose relationships where you don't have to beg for basic effort. Choose people who don't make you feel like love is something you have to earn every morning. Choose someone who sees your value without needing to lose you first. And if that person isn't him, don't let disappointment convince you that nobody exists. One person's inability to love you properly is not proof that you're unlovable. One person's rejection is not a verdict on your future. One person's silence is not a statement about your worth. One person's departure does not mean your best days are over. Sometimes the ending you desperately wanted to avoid is the beginning you desperately needed. Sometimes losing access to someone is how you regain access to yourself. Sometimes the person you thought you couldn't live without becomes the person you realize you were surviving without. And sometimes the moment you stop chasing is the moment you finally understand how much energy you've been wasting. You were never supposed to spend your life trying to convince someone to stay. You were supposed to build a life so meaningful that whoever joins you has to add to it, not become the entire reason it matters. That's the mindset. You are not waiting for him. You are living. You are not punishing him. You are protecting yourself. You are not trying to make him jealous. You are becoming fulfilled. You are not trying to make him regret losing you. You are making sure you never regret losing yourself. That's the difference between manipulation and self-respect. Manipulation asks, how can I make him react? Self-respect asks, how can I respond in a way that honors me? Always choose the second question, because you don't control his reaction. You control your response. You don't control whether he misses you. You control whether you keep chasing. You don't control whether he comes back. You control whether you accept him back. You don't control whether he chooses you. You control whether you continue waiting to be chosen. And that is where your freedom lives. So remember, the 6 words. I'll let you come to me. Not because you're playing a game. Not because you're trying to make him obsessed. Not because you want revenge. But because you have finally decided that love must be mutual. You have finally decided that effort must go both ways. You have finally decided that your heart deserves reciprocity. And you have finally decided that you will never again run after someone who knows exactly where to find you. If he wants to talk, let him talk. If he wants to call, let him call. If he wants to see you, let him make the plan. If he wants to rebuild, let him show you. If he wants your trust, let him earn it. If he wants your heart, let his actions prove that he knows how to protect it. And if he doesn't come, keep going, keep living, keep growing, keep becoming, because your life is not on hold. Your future is not on hold. Your happiness is not on hold. Your worth is not on hold. You don't have to wait for a man to come back before you start becoming happy again. Start now, today, right where you are. Put the phone down. Take a deep breath. Look at your life. Look at everything you've survived. Look at everything you've learned. Look at the woman you've become. And tell yourself, I will not abandon myself for attention. I will not beg for consistency. I will not chase someone into loving me. I will not confuse silence with my worth. I will not accept crumbs because I'm afraid of being hungry. I will not make someone else's uncertainty my identity. And most importantly, I choose myself. Because when you choose yourself, you don't become less capable of love. You become more capable of healthy love. You stop loving from fear. You start loving from strength. You stop asking, how do I keep him? You start asking, does this relationship keep me? Does it keep your peace? Does it keep your confidence? Does it keep your dignity? Does it keep your joy? Does it help you grow? Does it make you feel safe enough to be yourself? That's what matters, because the right relationship doesn't require you to disappear. It gives you room to become more of yourself. And the right man doesn't need to be chased into your life. He walks towards you. He communicates. He makes an effort. He follows through. He doesn't leave you constantly guessing. He doesn't make you compete for basic attention. He doesn't make you feel like you're too much for wanting the bare minimum. He understands that your heart is valuable, and he acts accordingly. So stop chasing the man who is pulling away. Stop running behind somebody who isn't running toward you. Stop sending messages designed to keep someone interested. Stop shrinking your standards to keep someone around. Stop confusing struggle with love. Stop calling anxiety chemistry. Stop calling inconsistency mystery. Stop calling breadcrumbs effort. And stop calling emotional exhaustion love. You deserve peace. You deserve clarity. You deserve reciprocity. You deserve someone who chooses you with intention. And until that person arrives, choose yourself every single day, because the most attractive thing about you will never be how perfectly you convince a man to chase you. It will be how completely you know that you don't need to chase anyone. You don't need to prove that you're worthy. You don't need to compete. You don't need to beg. You don't need to manipulate. You don't need to become someone else. You need to stand firmly in who you are. And if someone walks away from that, let them walk. If someone cannot recognize your value, let them go. If someone needs you to chase them before they appreciate you, let them go. Because the right person won't require you to abandon your dignity to keep their attention. And when you finally understand that, rejection stops looking like the end. It starts looking like redirection. Silence stops looking like punishment. It starts looking like information. Distance stops looking like disaster. It starts looking like clarity. And being alone stops looking like failure. It starts looking like freedom, so let him come to you. And if he doesn't, keep walking. Walk toward your purpose. Walk toward your peace. Walk toward your confidence. Walk toward the life you've been putting on hold. Walk toward the version of yourself who no longer begs for what should be freely given. Because one day, you're going to look back at the woman who kept checking her phone, rewriting messages, waiting for replies, and questioning her worth. And you're going to say, girl, you were never hard to love. You were just trying to be loved by someone who wasn't meeting you where you stood. And that's when you'll understand. You didn't need to chase him. You needed to stop running away from yourself. So let those 6 words become more than a text. Let them become your standard. I'll let you come to me, and then mean it. If he comes with honesty, listen. If he comes with effort, observe. If he comes with consistency, consider. If he comes with genuine intention, meet him halfway. But if he comes with the same confusion, the same inconsistency, the same empty promises, and the same behavior that broke your peace before, remember who you became when you stopped chasing. Don't trade your peace for temporary attention. Don't trade your standards for temporary comfort. Don't trade your future for someone who only knows how to love you when you're walking away. You have already spent enough time chasing. Now it's time to stand. Stand in your worth. Stand in your dignity. Stand in your peace. Stand in the knowledge that you are enough without somebody else's approval. And if he wants to be part of your life, he knows what to do. He can come to you. He can communicate. He can make the effort. He can show consistency. He can demonstrate that his intentions are real. But you keep living, you keep growing, you keep becoming, you keep loving yourself. Because the moment you stop chasing someone else is the moment you finally give yourself permission to be pursued by life itself. And life has more for you than one unanswered message, more than one man, more than one relationship, more than one chapter. Your story is bigger than this moment. Your future is bigger than his silence. Your worth is bigger than his opinion. And your heart is stronger than this temporary uncertainty. So put the phone down. Take your power back. Take your time back. Take your peace back. Take yourself back. And remember those 6 words whenever you feel tempted to chase. I'll let you come to me. Then let your actions prove that you mean it. Because the woman who knows her worth doesn't run after love. She creates a life where love must rise to meet her. And when the right man comes, she won't have to wonder. She won't have to chase. She won't have to beg. She won't have to decode. She won't have to compete. She will simply feel the difference. Because real love doesn't leave you constantly asking whether you're wanted. Real love makes room for you. Real love shows up. Real love communicates. Real love gives. Real love receives. Real love meets you halfway. And until you experience that kind of love, don't settle for a connection that requires you to lose yourself just to keep it alive. You are not an option waiting to become a priority. You are not a backup plan. You are not somebody's temporary comfort. You are not a notification waiting for a response. You are a whole human being with a whole life ahead of you. So live it, love deeply, but love wisely. Give generously, but don't give yourself away. Be soft, but have boundaries. Care, but don't chase. And when someone pulls away, don't automatically run after them. Pause, breathe. Remember your worth, and let them come to you. Because sometimes the strongest thing you can say isn't a long explanation. It's 6 simple words. I'll let you come to me. And sometimes those 6 words aren't really for him at all. They're for you. They're a promise. A promise that from this day forward, you will never again chase someone so hard that you lose yourself. A promise that your peace matters, your time matters, your heart matters, your future matters. You matter. And once you believe that, you won't need to chase anyone ever again.